All right. Rose?
Okay, I'm thrilled to announce that Kelly Schrank is going to be speaking with and for us tonight. Kelly has a master's in technical communication and is a board certified editor in the life sciences from the Board of Editors in the Life Sciences. She has been in technical communication for almost 30 years and has been a medical editor in the pharmaceutical industry for the last 14 years. She brings consistency, structure, and clarity to her clients' content, whether she's writing content such as blog posts, style guides, and standard operating procedures, or editing formulary dossiers, manuscripts, proposals, slide decks, and training materials. She's created infographics and infographic elements for her own businesses, for her own business and her clients, covering topics from the light-hearted to pharmaceutical. Kelly is an associate member of or fellow of STC and a BELS certified editor in life sciences who has presented on infographics, Microsoft Word, and PowerPoint, checklists, editing, and networking. Thank you for being here, Kelly.
Thanks for having me. And are you seeing my slide? And just my slide?
Yes, we are.
Great.
We can. Your voice is a little low.
Okay. I will speak up. How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I just looked down for a minute and you got the low point of my voice. But thank you everybody for coming today. I appreciate you taking the time. If you don't already know me, Rose did give me a little introduction, and so I won't read all through this again. But I've been in technical medical communication for a long time. And one thing I kind of want to point out about what you see here is you don't really, in my credentials, I don't talk about having a background in graphic design. So what I'm talking about today, anybody can do without, a graphic design. And I know a lot of people get, um, worried about how to do new things, and they, you know, wish they had a little more graphic design capabilities maybe. But I think that it's something anybody can learn, and the tools are just getting better and easier for, just anybody to get at least something fun done on their own. So let's get started. This is just a quick agenda of what I'm going to cover. What's an infographic? What tools can you use to make one? Where do you get ideas, for how to make an infographic? And, if you can, make it look cool. So you can see this term a lot. People have different ideas about what it is. So in the slides that follow, I'm going to discuss and show many different elements and formats and types of infographics. And I'm hoping that this introduction to the landscape of infographics will not only show you what's out there, but give you ideas of how infographics can look and what you might do with them. So let's start with the common elements. And I'm going to continue to point them out as in the sections that follow, to just kind of help you get a feel for what they are if you don't know already. My mission is to expose you to new ideas and show you some good design uh, through a lot of examples. And they're things that I've done. So, maybe you've seen better infographics out in the world by professional, graphic designers and people who get paid a lot of money to do that kind of design. But these are things that I was able to create myself, which to me, I always find helpful when I'm trying to learn something new, to learn from somebody who's done it themselves. So the bullets on this slide are from the article that's in the link there. It provides kind of one way of thinking about infographics, and it's somewhat specific to one of the formats we'll discuss next, which is what I call a rolling infographic. But to me, it's got some great information and examples of some of the elements of what makes an infographic. So some of these items will be your responsibility as the creator of the infographic. But I feel like most of these items should be things you already know how to do. For example, as a technical writer and editor, you should know how to write a descriptive title or subhead. You should, know how to gather informative statistics if that's what you need. You should know how to tell a clearly organized sequential story. Where you may need help, especially if you've, you know, been in jobs where you're just, writing kind of plain word, walls of words and documents, um, is with this bold, thematically appropriate color scheme or eye-catching graphics or, kind of formatting facts and things so that they stand out a little more. And those are some of the things that I hope that this session and the tools and apps I recommend can help you with. So this slide covers some of the same ground but presents the ideas differently. And I want to present a few different perspectives in the hopes that one of these perspectives, or perhaps items in each perspective, sparks something in your mind to make this click for you. So in this one, it's broken down into 3 easily digestible ideas. We have the visual, we have the content, and we have the knowledge. And you'll see again and again some of these items that are listed under visual, the color coding, graphics, icons. You'll see examples of time frames and timelines, statistics. And then more in the medical field sometimes than in the technical field, we have a lot of references that we cite. And then, of course, facts and deductions based on these facts. In theory, you should be comfortable with the content and the knowledge part. It just maybe this new visual format is where I'm trying to focus my time, because I feel like we don't do that as much in TechCom as other fields. So this last perspective is kind of a compilation of what I see and what I think differentiates infographics from some of the other ways we communicate. So the first column are the more visual items you'd notice right away. Colors, shapes, like most of the text is contained within shapes. There might be bits of data or ideas that are different sizes. And then there's more interesting fonts often used. In the second column are what those different colors, shapes, sizes, or fonts are trying to do. They're trying to shine a spotlight on certain pieces of data or ideas, trying to make connections between ideas or bits of data, or comparing or contrasting points of view. So I like to break infographics into 3 different types of formats to help us understand what they are. The first is the smallest. It's just an image, and it can be used in slides, it can be used in a document, and it's created using the elements of infographics to meet the ideals of infographics that we just talked about. So it may only provide visual interest, or it may use icons, color, size, and font to make connections between ideas or data. The second is more like a normal 8.5 by 11 document, either 1 page or 2 page, like a handout, but that uses elements of infographics, again, to meet the ideals of infographics. Lastly is what I call a rolling infographic, which is what you often see when you're looking at an infographic on the website. It's often a long image on a website, and you kind of scroll through it to get to all the different elements. While they often cover a lot of ground, maybe they go through the basics of a topic, they can be hard to share outside of the website that houses them. So while I don't think that that's necessarily something we would do in TechCom, I wanted to point it out because that's what a lot of people see out in the world, and that's what they think infographics are. So this example of an infographic image was not one I created. I can't take credit for this, but I love it because it just has so many really good elements in it, and it's also something we all understand. We've all been there, and maybe some of us write about these kind of things. It's about a trouble ticket for your help desk, and it shows step up. It's got a step-up approach to show the higher tiers of service from a help desk. It illustrates time with a clock icon and with numbers. There's different representations of the who or what might answer your question at each tier. I just think it's just really well done. Now this one is from the Build a Graphic website. So you'll see I have a link there, but if you've been to Summit, you might have heard Mike Parkinson talk. He has he has a company called Billion Dollar Graphics. This is what he does. He's really good at it. Um, but they also have a PowerPoint add-in that you can buy that will help you make these things even faster. And I don't have the add-in because I'm not doing as many infographics as I used to at the time that I created this this deck and was giving this. I was doing a lot more infographics than I am now, but it seems like a really good. That's one path to take to try to make them yourself without creating absolutely from scratch, which none of us has time for. So this is an example of a one-page infographic. This was shared online on LinkedIn. And it seems like one that you can create with PowerPoint with one of their infographic templates or a template from a vendor. It combines many different types of elements to tell a story about vaccine safety and efficacy. And elements of infographics include the icons. You see the numbers in different sizes and how they have the content coming out from them. The blocks of text to separate related topics. It's a pretty good example of infographics, and it, it seems pretty effective. So this is one that I made for a handout at a conference, and I created this in PowerPoint with an infographic template provided by a company called HubSpot. They do marketing things, and in exchange for my name and my email, they gave me some templates. And so I took what they had, and I changed the color scheme. I changed what was in the steps. I made it from a timeline to a step-by-step. I changed some of the icons. I changed the title. Um, and it's not that hard to do when you have a template like that. And yet it has so much more of an impact than if I just had a Word document with some numbered steps. um, so, so this one is one of those rolling infographics, and you can see that it's got the different boxes and circles and shapes and colors. They just do a lot of the infographic kind of stuff that we're talking about, and it also is going to move. Yeah, and you can see just how long this is and how it just goes from one thing to another. It's moving probably a little fast for you guys, but just to give you a quick, oh, okay, so this is how it works. It's just, boxes of content. There's images to give you ideas of what they're talking about, so that when you look at it quick, you know exactly what's going on. So I have a link to an article here. He talks about 7 types of infographics. I'm going to be showing you 5 tonight that might be helpful. And we can think about what might work for us and the type of work that we do. So this is a timeline I created for a client training. in my work as a medical editor, I used the AMA Manual of Style, and back in 2007, they put out a huge new version. It's like a 1,000-page book, and they hadn't updated it in it was 11 years or something. Um, and so I was just kind of showing where they started and where they ended, and oh, it used to be a 68-page document, now it's 1,000 pages. But this template, um, I downloaded from a website called Slide Model. Um, and at the time that I put this together, PowerPoint didn't have a lot of timeline templates. The smart art wasn't quite there yet. Um, but I think now you could probably find something like this more easily than having to go out, to a vendor. I think you could probably find something that would be worthwhile within the templates in PowerPoint. Especially, if you're an O365, there's just a ton more options in PowerPoint than in the past. So this is my revamped handout for creating checklists. It's no longer specific to editing checklists. It has my color scheme for my business. It has consistent colors, the use of icons and check marks. It's items chunked into boxes, all these elements of infographics. And this is basically a process or how-to type of infographic. Now this table is a comparisons infographic, and I really like this. You can kind of tell when I was doing, when I first started doing this presentation was back in the pandemic. So this is comparisons between COVID-19, colds, the flu. It has icons to bring visual interest, it color codes the columns, and to me it just keeps things really simple so the reader can quickly make sense of the data. And I think that's really important in trying to get our message across, whatever it is. Similarly, this is actually a lists um, infographic, and you see these a lot, but I really thought this one was effective because it's about carpooling, and so you see the images of people at a workplace. Um, it's very colorful. Each of the
Mhm.
circles provides an image showing what the text is describing, and this type of repetition is a classic attribute of infographics. The simple language, it's very easy to very quickly see the points that the poster is making. You'll see uppercase is more important, bold is more important. They just really um, try to make it easy for people to get their point across. And this I thought was a really good example of a map infographic. It just shows really graphically, really quickly some of the numbers. Um, this is one of the better ones I found, in the midst of, COVID-19 when they were tracking everything. Um, it's pretty obvious where the hot spots were. The numbers are there to give perspective. This is very serious. It doesn't have any kind of marketing slant to it. It's there to make a point to show you the data at a point in time, and this was constantly being updated. It's still actually on their website. I checked because I was checking all the links, and they have a little thing at the top that says that they're no longer updating it as of some date, but you can still see the last point that it was um, updated. But this is just, kind of letting the science tell the story as opposed, to pointing things out to you the way some of the other ones have been. So I thought that was a really good example. So when you have so many formats and types of infographics, how do you create one for yourself? These are some options. There's actually a lot of options out there. Obviously, we know where I'm going to land based on the title of my session, but I wanted you to also know that there are other ways to do this. You can use a site that has a template and you can type information into it. If it fits your needs and it has the right colors and the shapes and fonts and the right spaces for the content you need, that's great. Any of these sites would work for that, for creating an infographic. If you go to Canva or Pictochart or Visme, you can do anything. I mean, you can make presentations, you can make infographics, you can make images, you can make videos. They have all kinds of graphical options for you. Infogram and Venngage seem more focused on the infographics. That seems to be what they do. As you can see, they've got all different price points. They all have free versions that are locked down to some degree. So if you were going to create something, excuse me, for instance, for your STC chapter, maybe you use the free version and you don't mind that it's up on their website, or you don't mind that it's got a link, a little like, a logo for Pictochart on it. If you go to do these for work, you might need to get a paid version so that you can download them and put them where you want them to be. When I looked at this I did look at this a little bit recently, leading up to the session. They seem like they've upgraded to a certain extent, but what I was finding before was that some of the free versions, you would just have this public publication, so you would make the infographic and it would live on their website, which might be okay in some situations, not in others. Others, it was that they would put the logo on there. So you just have to kind of figure out how you're going to use it, um, and who has the best options for what you want to do if you were going to go down this path. But obviously, there's another option. So, given the name of the session, PowerPoint is my go-to. This is how I create infographics for the most part. I played around with some of the options on the previous slides. I was disappointed by the limitations, the constraints. I didn't like having to pay to have control of the infographic. And honestly, PowerPoint infographic templates have been expanding in the last couple of years, especially if you're on O365 on a PC. So they're probably available to you if you know where to look, if you know how to open up templates in PowerPoint. And if you're in a corporate environment, you've probably got the latest version that has all the bells and whistles. You can also try to download templates from different companies for free or for a fee. There's other kinds of companies, not just the sites I looked at before, but that have this is what they do. They create these kind of things. Obviously, they're going to want your name, your company information. Will your company? I mean, if you work for a company, will cybersecurity let you download it? I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. So to me, PowerPoint is PowerPoint with its built-in templates. Doing your own kind of work to it is kind of the way to go. Another thing that I found when I was playing around with some of those was that sometimes the time it takes to make one of those sites work for you, I might as well just put in the time to learn PowerPoint better. Like either way, you have to make some kind of investment. And PowerPoint is always on your computer at work. You can use it to do a lot of different things. I tend to use it as my graphics tool. You can create all kinds of stuff in PowerPoint that Word is not always so great with. Um, so how much time it might take could be relative, but do keep in mind that this is kind of a new way to think, and it's probably going to take more time than you think it will. So they're really cool, but it's going to take some time. So if you do this, what kind of tools are you going to need? As I said, PowerPoint 0365 is the best. I can't say if Mac has everything that's on the PC. I'm not sure. Older versions, I have heard that they don't have quite as much, some of the bells and whistles that we have in 0365. But there's a ton of templates. Um, does the design ideas really helps me out a lot. Um, it gives you ideas for what to do with slides and what to different ways to make things look, and can provide you some images and graphics and things that you might not find otherwise. Smart art gets a bad name. Like anything, it kind of became popular, and then everything looked like 5 different pieces of smart art that everybody did. But you can take smart art and you can totally break it apart and do anything you want with all the shapes. So you can make any piece of smart art look like whatever you want it to. So if it's not quite right, you can take it apart and put it back together. And the handout that I have that I can put in the chat when we're done actually has step-by-step how to do all that. The other great thing in the latest versions of PowerPoint are all kinds of icons, which infographics use a lot of. If you haven't seen there's always a little icon that goes next to some text in an infographic. There's also a ton of stock images in PowerPoint now that you don't have to go anywhere to get permissions. You can just use them the way that they are. You can still go to Canva or Pictochart or Visme. You can get templates from them, create things online there. They've got stock images there. They've got icons that are a little harder to get out, but there's definitely some options there. Pixabay and Unsplash, they've got a lot of, they've got good stock images that people like to use, and there's some new ones there. I mean, some free ones there. There's others, but those two come up to me the most. So there's some good ideas for tools, and everything that I have under PowerPoint in the handout will teach you exactly how to do what you need to do with those to make infographics. So where do you get ideas? This last section of the presentation, I hope, is going to spark some ideas for your own infographic journey. And again, I'm pulling from my own experience, kind of before and after, so you can see what I've done with PowerPoint in the real world. So we're going to talk about a dossier infographic that I created for one of my clients, and then a report card for my business, report card for my client. I'm showing you where we're getting the templates from, and then I'm going to show you the actual examples. And if you know, it's really hard sometimes when you're creating these for a client to get sign off to share things. So I've kind of had to go with things. This dossier is redacted. And then the report card, obviously, is for my business. I can use that. But the one for the client was put in social media, so I was able to use that. But, and just, it's probably obvious that I'm not a graphic designer, but a lot of us don't work with graphic designers, and we kind of do what we can with what we have. So that's what I'm trying to show here, what you can do with what you have. So this is a dossier that I was working on for a client. It's been redacted. This is a pretty standard pharmaceutical formulary dossier. I read a lot of these, um, and this is section 2 of the formulary dossier. It was about a page and a half of bullets. I'm sure we've all seen documents like this. It's pretty much the wall of words that we all hate. And this is what I did with it. Obviously, I had to take out all the actual data, but this is pretty much what would be in an dossier infographic. We talk about the product, the population. You see, when we talk about the dose, we've got a little icon of a drug bottle. Always a table, showing you how people did on the drug. Still a couple bullets, but not near as many as there were before. And just some color to kind of wake you up a little bit as you go. And then some just kind of breaking things out and putting it into boxes to try to make it a little easier to find the data. It's not going to be as flashy as a marketing piece, because it's the audience for this is not consumers. They're professionals who evaluate drugs to put them on your formularies for your health insurance. But it catches the eye more than the previous version, and you can actually find what you need fairly quickly. The icons help you know what's in each section, and the data is easier to compare. So this is an example, kind of a before of a template that was available and what I did with it for myself. So this is a template I got from HubSpot on the left. It's longer, it's closer to a rolling infographic. It came with kind of the funnel look. It had the color scheme, the shapes, the icons, the color blocks. It had a bottom footer section. And then on the right is my finished piece, which is fairly easy to customize. I just changed the color scheme slightly to match my logo colors. I made it shorter by deleting some of the sections. You can see that I kept the pie chart, some of the circles with icons, some of the numbers, but then I took some other ideas and made them my own. So my goal with this piece was to create a report card for my business, what I do this year. And gathering the data was actually harder than putting it into the graphical aspects of it. So earlier we talked about comparison infographics, and you can see that that's what this template was originally meant to do, to compare, two things, whatever they were. But if you can think outside of the box, and I saw it as a great way to present what I wanted to present. And if you can do that with the templates that you see in PowerPoint, then it's much easier to get things done. So lastly, in this section, I did something similar for a client. On the left, you'll see this was a international infographic resume template that was in PowerPoint. And on the right is an infographic I created for my client. It was fairly easy to customize. I used the company's branding colors, which were similar to what was there, but not quite. I kept the map and just made it work for what we needed to do. I kept the circular icon, which I thought was kind of cool, and just rearranged the colors and the shape of it to fit what I needed. I liked the icons that were at the bottom next to the the contact information. I liked the basic idea of it. I liked this, the shape, where the boxes were. And I made it thinner and longer to accommodate the information I needed to add. So since this was meant to be posted to social media, the size didn't really matter. I really could do, any image, any size image that I wanted. And their goal was to show that they'd always been a remote company. So I started with that on the top, and then I added in the normal kind of things you usually talk about. Company and their people and what do they do. It was a med communications, so obviously some of these things are pertinent to what they do. Maybe not tech com folks, but definitely medcom. So, so, so we've discussed many different resources. We've seen a sampling of infographics throughout. But if you're still looking for ideas, I have one last bit of advice, and it sounds ridiculous. But if you really don't know what to do, and I do know what I'm doing to a certain extent, and I do it anyways, I go into Google and I just search infographics. And I change from the general search to search in the images tab, so that I just get bombarded with infographics. And if I have a topic, maybe I'll say, whatever kind of infographics, or whatever it is. But the point is just to visually to see what's out there, see what people are doing, get ideas. You just want to see it. What people are doing, what's in fashion, what good design looks like, and just get some ideas. And you can also go to some of the sites we discussed earlier. Canva's really good to get ideas for what to do. But that's kind of one of the things that I do, besides just going into PowerPoint and just starting and see what the design ideas comes up with, and then go to Google and see what comes up in the images tab when I search for something similar. Sometimes it can be hard to know, like, what kind of icon would I use for this? And, so sometimes I kind of Google, I'm like, oh, okay, so that topic and these, certain icons seem to come up, and then you kind of know that, the general subconscious, most people think, this icon means this. And that can be sometimes that's the hardest thing, especially if you're doing something technical, or, like some of the pharmaceutical stuff. Sure, I have a lot of pills, and I have a lot of, drug packaging kind of icons. But, and then there's always like the doctor icon, or, there's always the stethoscope, for medical and thing. You just have to make sure you don't get you're not always using the same things. So in summary, you want to kind of see what's out there. You'll be surprised how many infographics, and especially infographic elements, you're already seeing now that you know what you're looking for. It can be hard to find the time or energy to try new things, and it can be really hard. I'm just going to say this. It can be really hard to suck at something, while you're learning. But learning is part of the process. So you really want to try to give yourself the chance to fly, with your new skills, and just give it a try. Maybe you discover it's not something you care about doing, or maybe it's something that you really love and you think it's really cool, and you give sessions on it to people late at night. So just kind of take advantage of that, and try something new. One of the reasons that we love TechCom is because we get to try new things, and the technology is always changing, and just take advantage of that. So any questions? I feel like I flew right through that. I'm sorry. But any questions? I don't have
That
the
was
chat
great.
up, so.
I've got a couple questions. The first would be, do you feel that clients are already sold on having you make infographics, or is it something you present as an option and they go, you sort of have to talk them into it. And then secondly, do you tend to have clickable links within your infographics, or are they more standalone?
It depends on where they are. I'll answer your second question first. It depends on where you're putting them. If it's
Right.
social media, obviously there's those links somewhere. Maybe if you had it up on a website, you probably have a link in it. It depends on how you load them. Because if they are images, it gets a little harder, and I haven't actually done that where I have links from images. But as for clients, I have tried to sell infographics sometimes, and they've not gone for it. Especially I find, and I'm always making this kind of analogy, like in TechCom, we kind of tend to be at the forefront of technology and new things that are going on. In MedCom, they're always like they're a little bit behind, and they're not quite up to speed with all the TechCom stuff that we're doing. And so the same is true with my MedCom clients. They're just kind of, it's, like for instance, with manuscripts that are published in medical journals, they're starting to ask for visual abstracts, which are basically infographics. It's basically a slide, and everything is like a poster that people put at scientific meetings. It's very much just like an infographic. And I've tried to offer that to one of my manuscript editing clients, and it's like, and they kind of back away from that. But then I had another client who the journal required a visual abstract, and so I was actually able to make them one, and they had a template for it, and I did it. So I think sometimes it has to come externally. They're not always on board. It kind of depends on what they're asking you for. Obviously, when I'm working with that company that I had a social media for them, so doing a lot of infographic elements, whether it was just an image or it was a whole, almost looked like a slide, or a lot of that stuff was infographic. I didn't have to ask them because they just wanted me to post something on the website, and on their social media. So it kind of depends. I don't get people coming to me for it. It is something that I offer it. Sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, that before and after example, I think just really sells itself. Where you had the medical information with just the bullets and the wall of words, and then it get converted
Yeah.
into a much
But
livelier.
the funny thing was, one of the reasons I could share that was because they didn't go for it. Because
Funny.
they're just like, it's too much, it's too new, I'm sorry, I'm not ready for that, and it looked great, but they weren't quite ready for it. So
Maybe when it's more consumer facing, they're more open to it, because I think most,
yeah, they might be.
consumers, if you will, or I don't know, external audiences, I think particularly might appreciate it because it's just so much more accessible.
Yeah. And you see that a
So
lot of
when
the
when we
examples I
don't
had were,
go ahead.
go ahead. I was just going to say, you can see a lot of the examples were from the CDC, who of course has to communicate with everybody, and people need to get it really quick. And so they had a lot of good infographics, especially for the pandemic.
So when you work something up for them and then they don't like it, do they still pay for it?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
of course. Yeah. That was an in-between thing, though. I was doing that for somebody that my client was proposing to their client, so I certainly got paid. And I don't know what went between them, but I certainly got paid.
So when you get presented that big document with all the words and you put it in graphical form, do you make a decision about what you don't put everything that's in that Word document in the graphics, do you? I mean,
No, you
you
can't.
make a decision to cut some things out or you confer with the client about those decisions?
Yeah, we went back, you know, back and forth a little bit on that. The one example that I showed you. Some of it is just a matter of taking those long sentences and distilling it,
Right.
you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and getting it, so instead of, saying this long sentence, you're just getting the main points. It's more like,
Saying it in 3 or 4
bullets.
words. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are used to, in pharmaceutical, they do tend to do a lot of bullets. So, and they do tend to do a lot of tables. So from that perspective, they were okay with things that they're used to seeing break off into bullets and go into tables. It was just that they were presented with so much more white space, and if you think about, I'll show you that one again. There's just so much more white space in the way things are presented on the slide. On the page is broken out differently, and just so some of it they were comfortable with. Other parts, they were. Like I said, there was a middleman, so I'm not 100% sure where it was sold, but
Did the wall of text version have specific parts that people actually looked for?
yeah. And I tried to focus on those here. Yeah. But they do read all of them. Sometimes the formulary dossiers, especially for a product that's been out a long time, could be 200 pages. So you can only do this for certain parts of it. They're still going to have the other 180 pages or whatever. But this was just to try to help, at least with one section, try to make it a little more, because they're a little easier to follow. There are multiple audiences for these dossiers, and there's at least one of the audiences that would have approved that, or that would have been happy to see that page, but just not all of them.
I ran into a technical problem using Microsoft PowerPoint some years ago. I want to find out if it's still an issue. I was creating a document, I think it was in FrameMaker, and I had to take graphics from different sources. Some of the graphics prepared by the engineers were done with the drawing tools in PowerPoint, and I did not have a good way of importing that or exporting it from PowerPoint into some other software like FrameMaker. I think I ended up doing screenshots and the quality was not good. I know you work with templates, so it might be a different issue, but is that still a problem? Do you know?
Did they have to be connected, or was it you just needed a good quality?
I just needed better quality. I did not connect them. No.
Yeah, because nowadays when I need to do that, I basically just save as image. There's a
Save the
function,
PowerPoint slide as an image?
or the slide or a part of it. Yeah, there's
Okay.
you just select, what you want and just save as image. It's right click, save as image.
Okay. I'll do that next time. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably in the handout. I've got a lot of stuff in the handout. I should share that with you guys. It's very step by step, and it's a lot of stuff that I don't know that people realize you can do with PowerPoint. So I was just going to put this up here, so people can connect with me. I'm happy to answer more questions, but I wanted to get out of the slideshow so I can see, get to my desktop and share this with you.
Yeah, I think you can just put a PDF in the chat or something in the chat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't reach it. So there's the handout.
Let's see, handout, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, good work.
So you guys should like it because it's nice and it's step by step. Just I'm hoping that you're impressed with my my procedures
Yeah.
with a little bit of practice.
Well, we hope so, yeah. Well, this has been very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
I
Yes.
really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
And yeah, people can go on asking questions. I don't know if anybody has any really important questions, we can put it on the recording. Otherwise, I can stop the recording and we can keep talking afterwards. No one jumping in to add something on the recording, so I'm going to stop it.